Make sure you stick around until the end to see how you can win free gear and products. Hey, this is PJ with CLK Supplies, and I'm going to give you everything that you need to know about the H72 PT transponder key, which happens to be one of the top 10 transponder keys in the USA today. In this video, we're going to be going over which chip is used, what the test key is, what the shell part number is, as well as the code series and how to duplicate the key. But before we do, let's go down memory lane and talk about the history of the H72. All of the information I'm going to be talking about is also going to be downloadable in the PDF format in the notes below. So make sure you print that off and you keep that for your records. Now, the H72 was introduced in 1996 with the Ford Mustang as well as some Lincoln vehicles. Now, this was a huge shift in the industry, especially in the automotive locksmithing industry. This was new tech, this was new computer chip inside of a key for a vehicle. It was pretty crazy. And what happened was all of a sudden, all these locksmiths that kind of got used to VATS keys and kind of the ohm resistor and all that kind of stuff, all of a sudden had to really pivot, kind of switch gears to start doing this. And at the time, really the big machine was the Ford NGS. It was this really cool unit that you'd use, and it was quite a big thing back in the day. And really, from my perspective, the H72 really set the industry in motion, kind of as we know it today. So the H72 was first introduced in about 1996, and it was used until about 2006, all right? Ford actually introduced another key, the H84 that I talked about in a previous video, the jewel key, right before that. However, they kind of keep using them, and that's kind of a common thing. You'll see, it's almost like they have a backstock of an older chip, and even though they introduce a new one, they pick some vehicles and they just kind of keep it with that older technology. So the interesting part to me really is from 96 to about 2006 is really the lifespan of the H72. And for it to still here in 2021 be a top 10 transponder key is really impressive, and it really shows the dominance that this key had back then. Now, the H in the H72 stands for Hurd, who at the time was making the ignitions for Ford. Now, I've been talking a lot about Ford and a little bit about Lincoln, but also Mercury was using this key as well. Now, the chip used in the H72 is made by Texas Instruments, and it's a 4C chip. Now, this is a glass chip, and in the industry, we typically will call it a crystal chip, but it's really just referring to that it's a glass chip. All right, now, it is a 40-bit chip as well. Now, the most interesting thing about this glass chip is it's really not used a lot. It was used by a few different manufacturers in a few different forms for a short amount of time, but what you'll find is that it's kind of a more fragile type of a chip. Even dropping the key on the floor can potentially crack it. And so this is one of the keys in particular that you're not going to want to try to harvest the chip out in case of emergencies, because you have to be really, really fragile with it. Now, the test key for this is going to be the H75 key, okay? Now, this is a very, very common, you should have a lot of these in stock at all times, and it's the same test key used up through the years, whether you're going to be using the H74 key or the H84 or 92, okay? All of those are actually using that same test key. So if you're new to this, you definitely want to be stocking up on that H75 test key. Now, as far as the key shell goes, okay, the JMA part number is the TP00FO-15D.P. Now, I really like the JMA test shells. They're high quality. They were actually kind of first to market with them as well, and they do a really good job as far as transferring the chips. But like I was just saying, there's situations where you need to harvest it, and you got to be extra, extra careful. But for the most part, it's not one of those that you'll want to harvest. However, if you miscut it, using that JMA shell is a good thing. Now, as far as the code series goes, you're probably going to recognize it from a previous video, and it's the 0001X to 1706X. Now, this code series that Ford has used for a lot of years, starting with the H72 key, and it goes all the way up until more recent times on like the H92 PT. So it's really convenient for all of us in the industry because essentially it's the same blade, it's the same data. The only thing different really is the head of the key shape and the chip used inside. And that's from the H72, H74, H84, H92, right? All of them are using that. Everything the same essentially, except for the head shape and the chip. Now when it comes to key duplicating, you're going to duplicate the H72 PT the same way that you're going to be duplicating just a standard H75 key or a H92. It's all the same. So let me just give you a quick overview on how you do that. All right, now I'm going to be showing you how to duplicate this key right here on this JMA Nomad that has 4-way jaws. However, if you have a 2-way jaw machine, you're perfectly fine. Typically, side 1 or side A is all you're going to need to have this key on to duplicate it properly. So now I have this H75 key here as a test key that we'll put in on one side here, and watch how I put this in here. So when I put it in, all I'm doing is putting it right here on this main big groove, all right? And unlike the B106 or the B111 Circle Plus transponder key, there is actually almost always enough meat on the bone, so to speak, on the side of the key to clamp it down and to keep it secure. And so I actually chose this key. If you look at the cuts on it here, let me bring it a little closer so you can see there's not a lot of material here to clamp onto, but it's still enough without any problem, all right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the key on this side and we're just gonna set it right there on the ledge of it. And let me get the little clamp here. Typically, you always want to use the last slot here, so the majority of the key, okay, can actually be on the actual jaw that's getting clamped. So we're just going to put this down here for a second, and I'm just going to slide it in. This is a tip stop key, right? A tip stop means that there's no shoulder that you would use to align it with, okay? So since there's not a shoulder to align it with, you're gonna align it to the tip stop right here. Now once you have that in place here, now let me just grab a transponder and show you that the principles work the same here. So all we're gonna do is just set it right here on the ledge. It's very natural to put one of these keys in. I mean, as you can see, I just put it right in here and it just clamps right down super simply. So let me go ahead and just use a H75 as a practice test here. We'll get that put in, get it down there, and let's just go ahead and duplicate it really quick. Okay, now that we have one side done, we'll just flip it around and do the same on the other. So I just did a little buff just to get rid of the deburrs there. And all we're gonna do is just flip over this one key here. Now, some of the rule of thought with duplicating double-sided keys, right? There's a cut on both sides. Some guys like to flip it and cut the other side as well, which is not a bad practice. However, I kind of do it based on the wear of the key. If it's a pretty worn key, I'll flip it over and do both sides. Otherwise, I'll just keep it on the one side when I'm duplicating. So that's kind of up to you. Experience will really help you with that as time goes on here. So let me go ahead and get this put in here. Get that realigned to the tip stop, just like that. Now, if we were doing a shoulder stop, we'd be using this gauge up here, right? But there's no shoulder that we're gonna be able to clamp onto. So let's go ahead. As you can see, this key just clamps so easily. It's in there nice and snug. Let's go ahead and cut the other side. And there you have it. That's how easy it is to duplicate one of these H75s or H92 transponder keys. All right, and there you go. Everything that you need to know about the H72 PT. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. I'm guessing if you just watched this video that you work with locks and keys. And to us here at CLK Supplies, that makes you a lock boss. And we wanna hook you up. Here's how it works. Throughout the week, we post videos on YouTube, like the one you just watched. And all you need to do is comment on the videos and include the hashtag LockBoss. When you do this, you're automatically entered in to win one of 5 free prizes that we give out each and every week. No purchase necessary. So if you're a Lock Boss, join us each week to learn, grow, and win.